Call the Civic Enhancement It's not working.
I think you have to hold it.
Working. No. Oh, wait.
Is it?
Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order the Civic Enhancement Committee. We'll do a roll call.
Member Briggs,
Present.
Member Holt,
Here.
Member Nichols, Member Snyder,
Here.
Chair Weens,
Here.
all are present. Item 3A, approval of the September 26, 2024 Civic Enhancement Committee meeting minutes.
Can I have a motion to approve?
Second.
Motion approved.
Okay, passes 5-0. Item 3B, presentation and discussion regarding council's adoption of resolution number 2024-1907 and the City of Prescott art donation policy.
Good afternoon, Matthew Pedracki, the Deputy City Attorney. I ask that you bear with me today. We had our Christmas party this afternoon, so instead of wearing a suit, I'm wearing a festive Christmas sweater. Also finding a cold, so if I lose my voice, a little grace goes a long way, so thanks for that. The City of Prescott, as you know, and you're probably even more familiar with it than I am as being committee members, adopted Resolution 4279-1488 at a recent council meeting. And it is, in essence, a redo of our former art policy. And there are three main differences from the previous iteration of the art policy. And I'll start with those. Then we'll go into the art policy itself. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to stop and ask. Happy to try to address them to the best of my ability. But those three main differences are that the city will only accept artwork if we have a place to put it. The second one is there will be a 60-day public comment period that will begin from the clerk's office within the week after you all consider making a recommendation to the city council. And the person donating the art needs to be responsible to pay for the installation. So those are kind of the three big ones. And now we'll kind of go into the art policy itself. You all have a copy of it. At the beginning is a bit of a preamble that talks about public art in the city. And what we're looking for is guidelines so that the public art that the city accepts is of the highest quality, that it enhances the aesthetic character of the community's public spaces, it advances the public's understanding of art, meets with the overall feel and themes of the city, and does not place an undue burden on the city for the artwork's maintenance, security, or public safety. Then it goes into the general standards that should be applied in considering whether or not the city should accept public art. And it bullet points several things. What the city council will be looking at and expecting of you in your recommendations is to be looking at the artistic merit of any public art that's being proposed to be donated to the city, the physical condition of the artwork, the history and provenance of the artwork as it relates specifically to the city of Prescott, compatibility with the city's existing public art, availability of an appropriate location for siting on city property, what the requirements for installation, storage, and maintenance will be, any liability considerations and issues for public safety, And final determinations related to the acceptance of public art will be at the sole discretion of the City Council by a majority vote of the members. So this committee serves as an advisory committee to the City Council, but ultimately they'll have the final say in whether or not to accept public art and where that public art should be placed. It then goes through a list of kind of preferred art, and they call it acceptable forms of art, and then they have unacceptable or not acceptable forms of art. Those are fairly self-explanatory. If you want me to kind of go through them, I'm happy to do that. If not, we can kind of move on to the acceptance of gifts and bequests of loans of artwork. Eligible offers of artwork from artists or owners of businesses or organizations shall be submitted by the donor to this committee for processing. And eligible offers would include an expectation that a letter of intention stating that the donor wishes to donate the art or loan it or bequest it to the city. And the donor can suggest the location for the artwork's placement on city property, but again, that fundamentally will be up to the City Council. Offers to donate art shall have a written description of the artwork, including a definition, whether it's a painting, sculpture, fabric, or hanging, the date the medium was created, the name of the artist who created the artwork's dimensions, its physical condition, and any other relevant background information about the artwork. And you'll see that in the presentation that's kind of upcoming. Expect to see the name, the address, and the phone number of the donor, a visual documentation of the artwork, like color photographs or videotapes, and the donor may be asked to provide additional information. Then the application is processed through the Civic Enhancement Committee, which is all of you, at the next available quarterly meeting. The donors are notified, and the donor will have an opportunity to make a brief informational presentation to the committee. So you'll see that again this afternoon because we have a person who's interested in donating art to the city. After review and examination of the artwork, this committee will make a recommendation to the council regarding whether or not they want to accept or not accept the artwork, where that should be placed, the responsible party for ongoing maintenance, and then the voting meeting for the council will be 60 days beyond that public comment period. So one of the new, more important aspects of the new policy is that the city clerk's office is going to open up a 60-day comment period for the public to comment on the proposed artwork. They will collect any received comments and compile a recommendation regarding acceptance or non-acceptance to the council, and a draft art donation agreement and any other supplemental materials to present it to the council. And the council is going to have a regular meeting and then decide whether or not to accept or decline to accept the artwork. And then the clerk will notify the donor of whatever decision is made. So another important aspect and change in the old policy is the importance of site selection. And we'll kind of go through the site selection requirements in a little detail. When evaluating the potential art sites, it should be asked whether or not any particular location has the ability to, 1, reveal a unique or special quality about Prescott, 2, to enhance the daily routine of the commuter, pedestrian, worker, or resident, 3, to contribute to awareness of Prescott's history and cultural identity, and add aesthetic quality and interest to Prescott's infrastructure, to serve as a landmark or placemaker, to engage the public in an entertaining, educational, or contemplative way, or make the statement about the identity, character, or values of a particular area or community within Prescott. So site selection is known as something that's going to be an involved process, and the necessary parties will kind of come together and begin looking for a suitable place for the artwork. There will be a stakeholder review. Following the recommendations being made to the Civic Enhancement Committee, the clerk's office is going to open that 60-day comment period for citizens to submit their comments on the artwork and the location, and that'll be done through the city's website. And those comments will be given to the city council for their review and final decision-making at a voting meeting. We'll be looking to make sure there isn't conflict with other facilities in the area. We want to ensure that there's compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act. Site maps will be required. If necessary, artwork may be relocated. And there will be certain engineering requirements to make sure that the placement of the artwork is safe. The third important distinction that we talked about earlier is that the installation costs will be borne by the donor. And responsibility after the art is accepted and placed on city property shall be the city's responsibility. There's a provision here about de-accession, if necessary, on artwork. There's a whole checklist. And then finally goes into some rights of the artist and rights that the artist gives up by donating property to the city. So again, we began with what are the three main distinctions. We'll end with the three main distinctions from the previous policy, that the city only will accept the art if it has a place for it. There will be a 60-day public comment period, and the donor is expected to pay for the installation costs. So that is the new policy. Isn't that exciting? If you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them. Or you can kind of take a look through it. And this is kind of what's going to be our guiding document in the donation of public art from here on out until it changes again.
I'm curious about one thing. What medium is the 60-day discussion period? What medium does the public take?
It'll be on the city's website. And maybe, I don't know if Mary Kay has a little more information on that or not, but I'm not a technical guru. I'm getting old here, so.
That's correct. It'll be on the city's website, and there'll be a form to be able to complete, and then those usually get emailed to us directly. Are there any other questions from members regarding the art donation policy? Item 3C, discussion and possible action regarding a proposed sculpture donation from Jean Galazon.
Good afternoon, committee members, and Merry Christmas. It's not too early to say that. So a couple things. One, I just want to verify you all received in your packet the PowerPoint presentation that was created, and you've all had time to review that. And for the benefit of the public, I'd like to kind of go through that a little bit so you have a little better understanding. The proposed location for the sculptures would be the Peavine Trailhead, which there's plenty of room out there. That trailhead gets about 100,000 visits a year, so it's a pretty high visibility area. We know it'll be seen by tens of thousands of people, and it'll help beautify the trail system. Some other places where Mr. Galazon's art is currently located is at the Phippen Museum. You see it as you drive along Highway 89 and then on Glassford Hill. I have, just as a side note, I've talked to Prescott Valley and I've talked to the Phippen Museum about what the maintenance moving forward looks like. They both assured me it's a once a year kind of an easy application of a rust, preventing the rust or whatever, but pretty simple installation for that. So there's not a lot of time involved in that. The artist has quite a background since 1963. I didn't think you were that old. You look much younger. And a lot of accomplishments. I won't go through all of them, but certainly a lot since 1963, beginning in 1966. So certainly the artist has a background that's appropriate for this. Let's see. As Matt has pointed out, the donors acknowledge that they're responsible for the cost of installation. One of the things, if this is recommended by this body and approved by council, that I would want to is I want to tether those to the ground so that we don't have any kind of a tipping issue or anything like that. So they'll be tethered to the ground, and I can work with the artist on the best way to do that. We will apply an anti-graffiti solution to it so that we don't have a problem with graffiti. Not that that's a big issue out there, but you never know. And really, I think the rest of the presentation is just, acknowledging the criteria that and the requirements that the city's proposing, and the donor has accepted all of those. And with that, I guess we'll have some from the committee, some conversation from the committee. So I'll turn it over to the committee, Susan.
Thank you.
The artist is here. If you would like him to come forward, you can invite him up, and if you guys have questions, you can discuss those.
Sir, would you like to come forward?
Sure. Yeah, I broke my clavicle on Saturday, so you'll just have to bear with me. All right, but I'm here. There. Thank you. All right, I'm ready.
I have a question. Is this art that's being proposed the same as what we saw at the Fippen Museum and on Glassford Hill?
Yeah, it's similar. Nothing is exactly the same because I start with items from recycled yards and so forth. So everything is unique in that sense, but it's the same in the way that what I'm proposing to donate is one large horse, we'll call her a mare, and two smaller colts. So that's the ones at the Fippen are two large horses and a couple of smaller colts. And Glassford Hill, if I remember right, is maybe two large horses and some smaller ones. So each one is unique in itself, but these are quote-unquote horses.
What was your inspiration for the horses?
Well, to make a long story short, excuse me, I moved from Wisconsin, Milwaukee, which isn't great for horses, and moved to Eager, Arizona, which, if anyone knows Eager, the Eager is a swell place for horses. We rented a place that was right aside a corral, so we had the waft or the whiff or the smell in the open windows of horses. And I just decided, I thought, I'll bet you I could make one of those. So I had a friend who had a horse, and I went out with my measuring, thing and measured the legs and the tummy and all the different parts. And my partner and I worked together in some ways. She would say, Gene, why don't you try this, do this a little differently, that a little differently. And when it was all done, we put it out in front of our property. And the thing that made me just smile from ear to ear was some cowboys were passing in their pickup truck, and they slowed down and they had to take another look because they weren't sure if it was a real horse or if it was something else. So that was my start. And I've just enjoyed, among other things, doing some, obviously, from the Fippen and other places. I know that people from the Glassford Hill, I've gotten great feedback from both places, the museum and Glassford, but I get people who see the horses on Glassford Hill, and they just give me some great feedback. Oh, you did those. Those are so wonderful. We saw them as we hiked up Glassford Hill.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I understand that the horses are really apropos for our area. The horses look great out at the Fippen, and they fit the Fippen Museum. And I love what you've done. What I worry about when I see the trail being out there unwatched, and they're not necessarily safe and all that. I know you're going to do some mitigation for the graffiti, but they look a little sharp to me. Could you talk to me about the panels that are on the horses? Are any of them sharp where if kids were out there unattended and they decided to jump on them or do something to them, would they hold up? Would they be sharp in terms of causing damage? Can you address that, please?
No, that's a great question, Kathy. I think before I ultimately delivered these horses, if they were accepted as a donation, I would go over the entire, all three of the horses and make sure exactly what you're talking about, that if there are any sharp edges or anything that would need to be sanded or needed to be dealt with, I would absolutely make sure that was taken care of, because I do not want any of my work in public places where there could be a problem in terms of someone hurting themselves. So great question. And before you got these sculptures, I would make sure that they were appropriate for a public space.
Based on the material that the sculptures are made of, is there a potential for over time, say, rusting to occur or something else, so that this like sanding, mitigation of sharp edges is something that might be required on a regular basis?
Oh, no, I don't think the sharpening would be required on a regular basis, but the horses, even though they were sprayed with a coating that would prevent them from further rusting, they are made, a number of the pieces that are part of the sculptures were rusted from wherever I found them. So would they continue to rust over some period of time? Surely. Would it be appropriate to spray them to keep them from, continuing to rust? Yes, that would be a very good idea. But the beauty of the horses is that they're a combination of pieces from all over, and it makes them what they are. That's the best way I can address that.
Go ahead.
So, Joe, where you were talking about on the Peavine Trail, is that city property?
Yes.
So then that means that over time, the city would have to maintain them, correct?
That's correct, and that's what I was referring to earlier, in that we would put a coating on them. It's a yearly application. Like I say, I talked to the Fippen and I talked to Prescott Valley, and they said it's a half an hour application. They do it once a year.
And do you see any problem with them being out there by themselves with, like at the Fippen where they're right in their front yard kind of thing? Do you see any problem with them being vandalized or just being, kids playing with them that they shouldn't?
So part of the reason that I would insist that they be tethered in some way, whether that's anchored to the ground in some way, would be that my only fear would be kids might try to climb on them. So the tipping concerns me. Vandalism doesn't as much, because there's really nothing to attract people who would maybe vandalize to that area. I mean, there's no shopping center, there's no nothing out there except a trailhead. So I don't have much much to be concerned about that way.
Thank you.
I read in the packet that these particular pieces were out front of the Fippen, if I'm not wrong, from 95 to 2006. And is it the case that these particular pieces were out front of the Fippen?
Say that again, Christopher. I'm a little confused what you're asking.
These three pieces that you offer to donate,
Yes.
are they currently out front of the Fippen?
No. These three pieces are currently in front of a gallery, and that's where they are. The Fippen actually has two large horses, two little ones, and then up in their pasture, they have a lying down horse, and then they have two others. So that's the Fippen collection. They bought some of them, and then some of them were donated.
Thank you. One other topic that I'd like to bring up and discuss with the committee is the point in the art donation policy of compatibility with the city's existing public art. And in one way, this is a town with Western roots. This is a town with a history of ranching. And so, horse sculptures are right on theme for that. On the other hand, this is described as abstract art, I think, in the packet. And I've reviewed the public art collection, and I can't identify any other pieces in there that I would describe as abstract. So I think that there's some discussion that we can have amongst ourselves as to whether or not that poses a challenge for the compatibility criterion.
Are there any other questions for you, sir?
For the artist?
For
yeah.
the artist.
If there aren't, I'll sit down.
Then we can proceed to discussion.
There is one public comment, and you can either have that now or after your committee discussion.
I'd like to hear the public comment first.
Okay. Barbara Nelson.
It's an industrial area too.
Yeah, just a couple of clarifications, and I don't know if they're in the materials or not, but and I don't know if any of the committee has had an opportunity to visit the site. The horses will be on a berm adjacent to the horse trailer portion of the parking lot. They won't actually be on the trail itself. The Glassford Hill horses are right on the trail. You walk up and you're like 3 or 4 feet from them, and I'm not sure that they've had a problem with any safety issues. But this would likely not be a place where kids would be convening, and so I would. And also, it has been mentioned that this whole area is kind of an industrial area, so it's not. So the Peavine Trail itself is just lost the word, is what people go there for, to hike on the trail. It's not something like the courthouse where kids are there and they're climbing up on the horse statues that are there and falling off. So I'm hoping that helps. As far as, the anti-graffiti coating and the rust coating, those are done with other things, other items in the city. And I think there was one other thing, but of course I've forgotten it. And so if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them.
Just a comment that I think being at the horse trailer park, it would be more respected, and it wouldn't be just a trail that anybody in the public just walks up and down. So that was good clarification. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. I appreciate your noticing that.
I found it very useful also, so that it's up on a berm, not sitting on the trail or
Right.
close by.
Right.
So thank you for that.
Yes, thank you for your question.
Are there any?
And I think that's all I have. And if I think of something else, I'll email it to you. Thanks for letting me come up.
Any member discussion, questions?
If we're about to go to a vote, I would just like to put in that, my remark about the potential compatibility issue would not prevent me from supporting sending this to the City Council with a recommendation. However, I'm also comforted by the change in the policy that there is this opportunity for public comment. And, if this goes before the City Council, then I would advise them to, I would suggest that they pay close attention to those comments. And that would help decide perhaps the question of compatibility.
And just one other thing, that last statement you made about where it's located on the trail for the horses, I would make sure that gets pronounced a little bit more.
I like it, and I'm going to vote for it. And my reasons are, I like it, so.
Chair, you're
Any
welcome.
other comments?
You're welcome to entertain a motion. And it would be for the acceptance and the location.
I'll call for a motion then.
Wait, I have a question. This might be a question for Eric Moore. Last time that we looked at artwork and we had a suggested location for that artwork, which I particularly thought was appropriate, Then we had to divide it up into 2 votes, one for the art and one for the location. And I'm just wondering, is this different, or can we go ahead and vote for art and location at the same time?
So that was under the old policy when we had that discussion previously for that art donation along Granite Creek. I would defer to Matt. I think you could make one motion with both items. Is that correct, Matt, legally?
You can do it either or.
Thank you.
Well, I will call for a motion then. You can do either or any variety.
I motion that we accept as the sculptures as proposed and in the location that's proposed.
Seconded.
I'd like to call for a vote. We can start to my left.
Aye.
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 Passes 5-0. Item 4A, presentation and update from Director Joe Baynes regarding the Recreation Services Department.
Thank you. Just a reminder for you all so you can understand the divisions of my department. We are lakes, trails, parks, landscape, forestry, fleet, golf, and facilities. All falls under the same umbrella. So I'm not going to bore you with details about every single one of them, but just highlight a few things for you. We're really excited. Starting on January 9th, we've got an AmeriCorps group coming. This is a national organization that provides labor throughout the country. It's a grant application that you apply for, and we were awarded. So we'll have 9 people showing up that'll be doing, we put together a work plan. They'll be working on invasive species, painting, trail work, you name it. We put together a really good work program. We'll be housing them at the Armory, the Gray Sparks Activity Center. We've created some space in there. It is 5 men and 4 women, or vice versa, for 4 months. So this is about 3 full-time equivalents that we'll get out of this. So we're really excited about the things that we can do that might not have been as high a priority for us, but we'll be able to do more that way. So we're really excited about that, and we hope that maybe in the future, if this works out, we can continue with this and get more of that, help beautify the community and get things done that we might not otherwise get done. So we're really excited about that. We're also in the process of working with our partners in the Prescott National Forest on our Bean Peaks Trail System. It's right off of White Spar Road, a mountain bike trail system that's been very popular. It seems like every week we're getting a write-up in a Colorado newspaper or a mountain bike magazine or something, so it's gone great. We have 9.2 miles of trail that have done in the first phase, and we've got about 25 in totality as soon as we're complete with that. So we're really excited about our partnership with Prescott National Forest. We're really excited about our partnership with PIMBA, the local mountain bike group. We're also excited that the state has seen fit to fund this through some grant funding. So it's really been a collaborative partnership to get to this, and it's a really unique experience for people that mountain bike all over the country, so it'll bring a lot of ecotourism to us, so I'm really excited about that. We're also working on the Glassford Hill Trail up to the top of Glassford Hill. If you'll remember, we worked with our partners in Prescott Valley and the county to purchase some significant property on Glassford Hill, essentially Glassford Hill as you see it when you drive by, which is contiguous to the Granite Dells, and in totality it's about a 4,000-acre park with all that acreage that we bought with our partners and what we had prior to that. Just a piece of information that makes it the 19th largest municipally owned park in the United States, right here in little old Prescott, Arizona. Let's see what else. So City Hall remodel. We're just in May, we'll complete the first floor, which will move the council chambers down to the first floor. So we're looking for, I think, the middle of May for the first meeting there. This has been a challenging project. We had 13 leaseholders in here when we moved into the building, and we were able to work through all of those. They had existing leases that we had to work through and partner with them to find them spaces, and it's taken a long time. I called it a Rubik's Cube when we first started doing it, and it truly has become a Rubik's Cube, but I think we lined up all the colors. Right now, we're working on a lot of winter projects. Obviously, a lot of our parks, we've got to winterize things. So really, this is the time of year that we can take a breath and take care of some of those maintenance items that we weren't able to take care of when every weekend has a softball tournament or something like that going on. So this is a good time for us to do that. This is also the wonderful time of year that we start with our budget. Believe it or not, we start our budget in January. It gets approved by council in June. And so we'll be working really hard on that, putting that budget together. And then just one more thing I think is interesting, I hope you do too, is we just finished coordinating some filming in Granite Dells. As you probably know, over the years, there's been a lot of movies that have been filmed in Prescott, and they kind of went dry for a while. I mean, in the 20s and 30s, Tom Mix owned a ranch out in Yavapai Hills. So a lot of those old Westerns were filmed out in the Granite Dells. This one is called Frontier Crucible. And it stars William Macy is in it, if you know William Macy from Shameless, other things too. Thomas Jane, and Armie Hammer. Yeah, Armie Hammer. So Western, based on a 1961 novel, Western novel. I can't remember the author of that, but they were really good to work with. And it was interesting as we went out along the Peavine Trail to look at filming locations when I informed them that Tom Mix owned that ranch and that there had been a lot of filming done there in the early part of the 20th century, that they were really excited. But they were really good to work with. I always worry a little bit about them coming in and kind of trying to steamroll, but they were anything but. They were just happy to be there. The fire department worked well with us. They had to start a little fire because they burned a stagecoach and things like that. So I'm excited to see the movie. Just thought I would give you that little tidbit, and that's all I have unless you have any questions for me.
Actually, how long is that? 89?
Well, it isn't, but it is it's a commonly asked question.
How do we tie this into rec services? We can do it.
Okay, we could be off topic. Let me put it to you this way.
You could do it.
It'll be soon. Yeah, actually, the Public Works Department has done a great job. We initially thought maybe 3 to 4 weeks. I think they've got that timeline up a little bit. I don't want to commit them to anything, but let's put it this way. They're working hard on an emergency procurement, and they've got the contractor out there. They've discovered the main leak, and so they're working feverishly to get this thing done because, selfishly, I commute twice a day through that too, so I want to get that done. So thank you for the question. I didn't throw anybody under the bus, did I, Eric? Okay, good. Anything else?
Those are very important parklands to the city.
It's
that
all
road
important.
Runs through.
It's
So,
all
yeah,
important.
it's right there, right in there in the wheelhouse of rec services.
Exactly.
So, Joe, I have a question.
Okay.
Did you get a part in the movie?
I tried, but they just told me I didn't have a face for TV. They didn't say that, but I could tell that's what they meant. No, I didn't. No. They just asked me where the best hamburger joint was. I wonder if that's because they looked at me. I don't know. But thank you all again, and have a great Christmas. And I think Melissa's coming after me. Thank you.
Item 4B, presentation and update from Director Melissa Orr regarding the Prescott Library.
Good afternoon, members and audience members here. Thank you so much. Melissa Orr again. I have had 6 months now in this amazing position, being the new library director here for the Prescott Public Library. During these 6 months, we've been doing a lot of evaluation with our programs, with our services, our processes. We're finding that there's a lot of technology that we need to be updating. We're looking at how we can do that. I think we have about 5 different copy print machines for the public to use, and they're all in a different state of use. So a lot of what we're trying to do is make things a lot more streamlined for our librarians and for our staff to be able to help in other ways. So we're looking to be able to get out more in the community and do the outreach that our 3-year strategic plan for the library says that we're doing. So those are things that are very important. We will be getting a phone charging station, actually 2 of them coming up soon, which is kind of new. Only a few libraries in the valley have those, where you can type in a code, the door will open, there'll be cords in there that'll fit any of your devices. You can hook it in there, shut it, and you have the key code to get into it. And it'll also do the UV so that it's clean when it comes out. So we're looking at a lot of new innovations, again, so that our librarians can do more of the work that they're should be doing instead of passing out cords, which we have been doing here for years. So we're tired of that exercise. We've also been working on a lot of policies and procedures, making sure that we're safe. One thing we want to do is make sure we're having a lot of our fire drills and things of that nature, which had not been happening too much in the past. So that's a big push for us to make sure our public is safe and our staff and everyone that uses the library. Our friends of the Prescott Public Library continue to support us in so many ways. Recently, our teen zone got a complete makeover. It has tile things from the ceiling that are noise dampening. And the friends put up half of the cost, and a grant that was written by library staff funded the rest of that. So we have an amazing spot now for our teens. The noise reduction has been very much noticed by our patrons and our staff, so we're happy for that. Also, through our friends, the Desert Federal Credit Union gifted through them recently, right as they opened not long ago, 7 iPads that had communication software for kids, 30 new children's books and a bookcase, and 2 large font keyboards for our adult population. So they were focusing on some of our patrons that have special needs. So we were happy to have that be added to our collection. Last week we had our volunteer luncheon. The Prescott Public Library has 130 volunteers. About 100 of them showed up, and we were able to celebrate everything that they do. They're an amazing group. Upcoming, as Joe said, we're in the throes of the budget season. So one thing we're looking to do, every year the library puts out a survey. We just completed what that's going to look like, and it's going to go out in early January. Last year, the library got a 97% satisfaction rating. So something for this city and everyone to be proud of. It's an amazing library here. We're very proud of it. One thing that we're looking at when it comes to the budget is some of our art. As I mentioned in the last meeting, we have the timeline that's out front. We have the bronzes that are out there as well, and the mural in the back. We are looking to continue to get some quotes on what it would take to get those, and then prioritize which ones would be done first. One of the things we're looking at, too, for the future is the building that we're in is going to be 50 years old next year. So we're looking to work with the friends to have like a 50 for 50 kind of donation or something that we have out in the community where maybe it can be funded through that. We know it probably wouldn't be something that goes through the budget, so we're looking at different ways to see if we can get that funded. Part of it is we're also looking to have a lot of the stories from people, whether it's through the art that they've seen, through experiences, or anything that they can say that they've experienced at the library, for us to get out for everyone to see. And another big project we're looking at is we have an intern we're considering, and we're looking at doing some of the preservation of the vertical files that have history of Prescott. And in my office, I inherited about 30 books of pictures and news articles all about Prescott Public Library that we would like to get digitized. So this way we can preserve some of the history and the art and things that we have gathered over the years. So these are a few of the things that we're working on. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Item 4C, presentation and discussion regarding the 2025 committee meeting dates. In accordance with its establishing resolution, the Civic Enhancement Committee shall meet at least once a quarter and as necessary for the review and approval of recommendations related to the Acker Trust Grant Awards. Included for review are the 2025 meeting dates. The Quarter 1 meeting, Tuesday, March 20th. Acker Grant Review meeting, Thursday, May 29th. Quarter 2 meeting, Thursday, June 19th. Quarter 3 meeting, Thursday, September 18th, and Quarter 4 meeting, Thursday, December 18th. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer.
What was the last?
Last one is Thursday, December 18th.
Are these dates fixed, or can we talk about moving them around a little bit?
They're proposed, so we can discuss those as well, or look at moving them around, that sort of thing.
I'll be abroad for the first one, March 15th to March 23rd. So if we can go a little bit later in March, I would be there.
Okay, what I'll do is I'll send an email out with the dates, and then if you can individually reply, so there's not a issue with quorum or anything online, we can review some of those as well. Any other questions? Okay, Chair, I'll turn it over to you.
I'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting then if there are no questions. Meeting adjourned.